On an unfortunate evening in October 2019, Antonia's family was shattered by a devastating discovery. Upstairs in their parents' house, her sister Carla found Antonia seemingly asleep and decided not to wake her. But moments later, the serene facade crumbled. Carla heard Antonia inquire about their mother and ask for the light to be turned off, followed by a heartfelt declaration of love before turning away. Little did Carla know, Antonia was wrestling with dark, terrifying thoughts that led her to a tragic decision. This heart-wrenching event marked the beginning of a relentless quest for justice that would span years, unraveling a web of deception and revealing the true extent of Antonia's suffering. When Antonia's mother, Marcella, went into Antonia's room at 7 that evening, she heard no response and was horrified to see what was going on. Her daughter hovered over the floor, not moving. Marcella was so shocked that she went to her neighbors for help. Her family friends assisted in removing the body and called for emergency assistance. Not long after, Alejandro Barra, Antonia's father, addressed the media, promising to find out what caused his daughter's desperate deed and to pursue justice. It was evident that something important had a great effect on Antonia. The cause of death was determined by the autopsy to be self-sufficiency. Action on the case had to be taken right away. The parents looked into it on their own. Private investigators pieced together Antonia's final days with great care, pinpointing the person who had brought her to the brink of despair. Alejandro and Marcella accused Martin Pridenas of exploitation and promptly reported him to the authorities. Martin Pridenas shared Antonia's birthplace in Tomoko, Chile, where he was raised. He was raised in a big family with parents, a sister, and a brother. Little information about his family's dynamics is available online, which is probably justified later. When he was still a young man, a young woman by the name of Daniela Alvarez gave birth to his child. However, the couple's relationship did not endure long after the baby was born. They broke up. Martin and Antonia conversed through social media. When Antonia was a teenager, they used to message one another and leave comments on one another's pictures. However, their communication was limited to the internet. When they finally did meet in person, awful events transpired. Born in the late 1980s, Antonia came from a close-knit and resilient family. For a family of their size, the Barra residence was roomy and expensive. Alejandro and Marcella were devoted parents who brought up 4 girls and 1 son. There was a lot of love and caring in the household. There was no major trouble from the well-behaved and courteous children. But Antonia was different from the rest of her siblings. Her parents were very proud of her as she was born with exceptional intelligence, maturity, and ambition. She had goals for the future. She got along well with her teachers and did well at school. Antonia had aspirations of seeing the world and living a happy life. She enrolled in her first pick of universities after high school. She was studying a major that was in great demand. She threw herself into learning the fundamentals of her intended career as a freshman. She participated fully in both social and academic events. Her goals and interests were shared by her friends. Consuela Uribe, who was a law school student, and Antonia grew particularly close. They would frequently go shopping and to parties together. Rodrigo was Antonia's boyfriend, and they broke up. Consuela advised Antonia to divert her attention from her sadness after their breakup. Antonia took her friend's suggestion because she was having trouble adjusting to the separation. Antonia's friends had scheduled a trip for September 18. Antonia wanted to take some time to decompress and momentarily forget the past. Pucón, a popular tourist destination, was their stop. By pure coincidence, Martin and Antonia crossed paths once more. Martin intended to go to a festival featuring electronic music. On September 17, at around 6:30 p.m., the event was scheduled to take place at a local club called Black Room, where a DJ scheduled to perform. Along with 3 other companions, one of whom was Consuela's boyfriend, Consuela and Antonia left for Pucón. They had various lodgings when they arrived, and the journey had gone well. The Uribe family rented out a summer home to the girls. The buddies started getting ready for the party at the well-known Black Room after 8 o'clock. Before departing, Antonia had a message exchange with her father, who advised her to exercise caution when interacting with strangers. She wrote back to her father, assuring him that her most valuable quality was caution. Martin was questioned by law police several times, but he denied any wrongdoing with Antonia. He insisted that their relationship was consensual and angrily denied any part in her untimely death. However, detectives had their own information and point of view on the subject. Investigation results revealed that Martin and his pals departed Temuco at midday on September 17, with the intention of returning the following day. After arriving at their destination, the group celebrated with drinks, jokes, and lots of talk at a rented home. As all was going on, Antonia and Consuela prepared to go to the club. They placed their food and drink orders at the table. The pals were having a great time dancing and chatting. It goes without saying that the unexpected reunion of the young people took place at the Black Room Club. Antonia and Martin were thrilled to have met by coincidence, and the two of them talked and danced throughout the evening. They were obviously fond of one another. After then, Antonia had to leave him to go back to her companion Emilio, who was having a good time. She probably didn't know how drunk she had been because of the lengthy drive and her empty stomach, which was something she often avoided. At approximately 6:45 a.m., Consuela discovered Antonio was enjoying a good conversation with Emilio, a mutual acquaintance. She then informed Antonia that it was time to depart. Antonia declined because she was feeling fantastic and eager to carry on with the evening. Consuela suggested that she should think again, but Antonia was determined and decided to stay at the club while Consuela left. Antonia later regretted having made this choice. Unknowingly seeing the subsequent events, Emilio described them in court and throughout the investigation. He mentioned that Martin had approached Antonia and struck up a discussion with her. Then he grabbed her hand and steered her in the direction of the door. Emilio saw that Antonia was strangely uncertain about whether she was participating in the discussion or was simply disoriented because of the booze. Emilio surmised that she accepted the man's invitation to accompany him. According to Martin's buddies, they drove away from the club in 2 different automobiles, but neither one had space for the 2 of them. As a result, they continued walking. It was evident from the surveillance footage that the man forced the woman inside. She was unable to resist and could hardly stand. Martin, who was a little more sober, managed to keep this under control. Throughout the night, they were seen on video multiple times. Martin attempted to kiss Antonia, who refused to reciprocate, and attempted to pull away as soon as they entered the rented residence. Then they made their way upstairs, and Martin sexually assaulted her. Consuela received a voicemail from Antonia about 9 in the morning. She was having trouble understanding what was being stated in voicemail at first. She picked up several words after paying closer attention. Antonia was calling out to be taken away. She utilized GPS to locate herself because Consuela was unsure of her precise location. Consuela headed to the specified place with her lover, Jose. They found Martin inside the house, naked save for a cushion covering his body. Consuela asked him where her companion was. He said he didn't know. In one of the upper rooms, they discovered Antonia sobbing softly while lying on a bed in her panties. Jose took her in his arms and took her to the vehicle. Consuela inquired about the incident, but Antonia was reduced to tears. Back at the summer cottage, the young couple tried to comfort her by giving her hugs and trying to talk to her. Antonia opened to them about everything. She was the object of Martin's exploitation, and she didn't know how to stop it. Though she had trouble remembering anything, she was certain that he had harmed her. When they got upstairs, and Martin sexually assaulted her, then he left her by herself and vanished. When Antonia told Jose and Consuela about the incident, they insisted that she denounce the rascal to the police and pursue justice. Antonia declined, for fear that her parents and the public would find out. Instead, she decided to discreetly go through the ordeal and make an effort to heal herself. She asked them not to discuss the incident with anyone. When Antonia's father sent her a message during their sincere chat, he inquired about how she was doing and made a joke about whether or not she had been drinking too much. In an attempt to avoid raising suspicions, Antonia tried to reply in her typical way, unintentionally drawing attention to herself. When Antonia met with Martin the following day to discuss things, he was haughty and condescending. He maintained that what had happened the night before had been voluntary. It was then that Antonia realized she was not going to get an apology or the truth, and she knew she would have to try to go on. Psychotherapists appointed to the court hearing described the symptoms of intimacy trauma syndrome, which Antonia was experiencing at the time. These symptoms include abnormalities in her physical, emotional, and interpersonal conduct. This illness can manifest right away after the event, or it can take months or even years to manifest. The poor girl was going through a severe phase by herself. She was unable to get rid of unpleasant feelings, diversion, anxiety, and uncertainty. She would occasionally cry and go into hysterics. She also probably had a compulsive desire to wash herself, and she occasionally felt sick to her stomach or even puked. Antonia attempted to act normally and remained mute for 3 weeks. An old buddy said that she had never noticed anything out of the ordinary about her. However, her classmates were unable to ignore the syndrome's related memory loss and disarray. One of them saw that she was performing worse academically than she had in the past, which was highly unusual for the once disciplined student. Antonia mentioned bad health as the reason when questioned about it. It should be mentioned that many friends, acquaintances, and classmates testified on the girl's behalf during the trial. However, when did the decision to make a catastrophic choice finally turn? If not for a sequence of incidents, Antonia may still be alive today and might have eventually sought professional assistance. Furthermore, it's unknown what they said over the phone the day before the incident, possibly threats on Martin's part. It's evident that Antonia vanished the following day. She uploaded a video in a family conversation and sent her BU a final note a few hours before she passed away. Antonia was demonstrating how much she missed her previous self by smiling and dancing. She was unable to go back to her former way of thinking, acting, and living. Thanks to Alejandro's bravery in telling the nation about his daughter's experience, this tragedy left a lasting influence. The people were moved by her tragedy. The name Antonia appeared on social media banners, hashtags, and even walls that were being built. In less than a week, the public's backing produced amazing results, and more women came forward with similar accusations against Martin. His identity was the subject of 6 additional charges that detailed his activities from 2010 to 2019. When it was discovered that the individual was a criminal, he was arrested simultaneously. Martin's family filed a petition to have the online breach of their personal data stopped. The family used countless insults, hostile comments, and false material from the internet to claim that their constitutional right to dignity and respect for private life had been infringed. The Tampico court granted the motion of the suspected Prideness family, which includes the Barra family, on June 12, 2020. The judge ordered Antonia's family members to stop publishing compromising material and sharing details about the attacker's family on social media. Outrage was caused by this decision. People in Chile were furious because they thought it shielded Martin. The Barra family appealed to the Supreme Court on July 21, 2020, but it was denied. Subsequently, the suspect's attorney filed a request for his client to be protected later that month. He was formally accused of multiple attacks in the same month. In Chile, the public outcry was gathering steam. The probe was eventually dubbed the Antonia case, and it became a symbol of the restoration of justice for victims of abuse. Several women were brave enough to come forward with their stories after years of silence. Something unexpected happened on July 22. The court substituted home arrest for the previously determined preventive measure of jail. In effect, Martin Pridenes was released. The judge clarified that this did not sum up the expected penalty at the same time. Martin was accused of misbehavior on 5 separate occasions by the prosecution, but the court only recognized 2 of the large-scale demonstrations that occurred across the nation. Outraged by the decision to place thousands of people under house arrest and the end of investigations into specific facts, thousands of people flocked to the streets. The authorities responded by submitting a request to the appeals court on behalf of the citizens. The legal system reacted right away. It removed the chosen preventive measure and placed Martin under arrest. Later, the statute of limitations for 2 incidents of interpersonal violence that occurred simultaneously was abolished by the same court. Alejandro collaborated with feminist organizations to write a bill outlining the penalties for these kinds of offenses. He stressed that when a woman is dragged away by a man without resistance, especially when she is drunk, no one should stand by and do nothing. Alejandro emphasized how critical it is in these situations to take the appropriate action because a lady in this condition is a potential victim. After Martin's phone was discovered in February 2021, the inquiry proceeded. According to forensic analysis, it included pictures where the accused wore women's underwear. Evidently, he maintained a record for his victories and was rather proud of them. The police report, which was about 400 pages long, contained testimony from witnesses, victims, and those who knew Martin and Antonia since they were little. According to the accused child's instructor, Martin was an intelligent and upbeat youngster who had a strong interest in intimacy-related subjects. A few women recalled that he had groped them when they were young. The criminal court in Pucón opened for proceedings on June 14, 2022, with an anticipated duration of more than 1 month. The prosecution offered a number of pieces of evidence, witness statements, and expert testimony at this time. The made public camera footage unequivocally demonstrated Antonia's lack of situational management. Martin received a 20-year prison sentence on August 26 for charges related to aggression and violations of intimacy. Despite the defense's appeal to the Supreme Court on December 29, citing disagreement with the verdict, a retrial was scheduled for spring 2023. During this time, the Barra family's advocacy led to the creation of Antonia's Law, aimed at ensuring accountability for acts of violence leading to suicide. On March 16, Martin's legal team resigned, and the public defense took over the case. The retrial, focusing on 5 violent crimes and 2 cases of forced intimacy, commenced on April 24, 2023. Martin, speaking during the trial, attributed his actions to extreme intoxication, prompting the prosecution to argue that he endangered the victims by drinking with them. On July 7, 2023, Martin was found guilty. The federal prosecution later sought a 41-year prison term, ultimately resulting in a 17-year sentence, with consideration for previous incarceration, totaling 14 years. The tragic events surrounding Antonia Barra's ordeal shed light on a dangerous offender, prompting reflection on the blurred lines between flirtation and harassment. Cultural shifts have led to greater awareness of the consequences of unchecked impulses, emphasizing the importance of respecting others' boundaries. As the story unfolds, it serves as a reminder of the fragility of human life and the need for accountability and empathy in society. What do you think of our video? Let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.